Dear friend, I'm glad you're here. I don't know what brought you to this moment, whether you came looking for something specific or whether you just needed a place to rest for a little while. Either way, you're welcome here. You don't have to do anything right now. You can just be here, as you are, with whatever you're carrying. And I know you're carrying something. We all are. Some of it we talk about. Some of it we share with the people close to us. But some of it we carry silently. Not because we're trying to hide it, necessarily, but because we don't always have words for it. Or because it feels too small to mention, or too big to explain, or too tender to touch. So we just carry it, quietly, day after day. And maybe right now, in this moment, you can feel it. That weight you've been holding. It might be in your chest, or your shoulders, or somewhere deeper that doesn't have a name. It might be a tightness, or a heaviness, or just a kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't fix. You don't have to name it yet. You don't have to understand it. You can just notice that it's there, that you've been holding something, even if you're not entirely sure what it is. And I want you to know, whatever it is, it's okay that it's there. You haven't done anything wrong by carrying it. You're not weak for feeling heavy. You're not failing because you're tired. You're just human. And being human means feeling things. Sometimes beautiful things, sometimes hard things, sometimes things you can't quite name. So for the next little while, you don't have to carry it alone. You can set it down here, between us, and we can just sit with it together. Not to fix it, not to solve it, just to acknowledge that it's real, and it matters, and you're not imagining it. Take a breath if you need to. Let your shoulders drop a little. You're safe here. Whatever you've been carrying silently, you can let it be seen now, even if only by yourself, even if only for these few minutes. It's okay. There's something you've been holding that no one else knows about. Maybe it's a sadness that sits just beneath the surface of your days. Not the kind that makes you cry or break down, but the kind that colors everything slightly gray. The kind that makes joy feel distant, even when good things happen. The kind that whispers, quietly, that something isn't quite right. Or maybe it's loneliness. Not the obvious kind. Not the kind where you're physically alone. But the kind where you can be surrounded by people and still feel like you're behind glass. Where you're talking and laughing and going through the motions, but some part of you is untouched, unreached, unknown. Maybe it's a fear you haven't spoken out loud. A fear about the future, or about yourself, or about someone you love. The kind of fear that lives in your body more than your mind. That tightens your chest when you wake up in the morning. That makes your heart race when you think about certain things. That keeps you awake when everything else is quiet. Or maybe it's a grief you didn't know you were allowed to feel. Grief for something that was never yours, or something that was yours and you lost, or something that should have been but never was. Grief that doesn't have a clean shape or a clear timeline. Grief that just sits with you, making everything feel heavier than it should. Maybe it's exhaustion, the kind that goes deeper than physical tiredness. The kind that comes from trying so hard for so long, from holding yourself together, from being strong for other people, from maintaining appearances, from doing what needs to be done every single day, without pause, without complaint, without acknowledgement. You're tired, not just in your body, but in your heart. Tired of carrying things, tired of managing things, tired of being the one who holds it together, who figures it out, who doesn't fall apart. Or maybe it's disappointment. Disappointment in how things have turned out. Not catastrophically. Maybe nothing terrible has happened, but things aren't what you hoped they'd be. Life feels smaller than you imagined it would, or harder, or lonelier. And you feel guilty for feeling disappointed because other people have it worse, and you should be grateful, and there's nothing objectively wrong. But the disappointment is still there. Quiet. Persistent. Making everything feel a little less bright than it used to. Maybe it's a shame about something. Something you did or didn't do. Something you said or didn't say. something you feel or don't feel. And the shame isn't loud. It's not constantly screaming at you, but it's there, in the background, making you feel small, making you feel like you're somehow less than you should be. Or maybe it's confusion. You don't know what you feel. You just know something is off. Something is unsettled. You're moving through your life, but you don't feel entirely present in it. Like you're watching yourself from a distance, going through the motions, but not quite inhabiting your own experience. And maybe the hardest part isn't even the feeling itself. It's the silence around it. You can't talk about it because you don't know how. Or because the people in your life wouldn't understand. Or because they have their own things they're dealing with, and you don't want to burden them. Or because it feels too vulnerable, too exposing, too raw. So you keep it to yourself. You carry it quietly. You manage it alone. And some days that's fine. Some days you barely notice it. You're busy enough, distracted enough, functioning well enough that it stays in the background where you can ignore it. But other days like maybe today, it feels heavier, more present, harder to ignore. And you realize how long you've been carrying it. How many weeks or months or maybe even years you've been holding this weight without really acknowledging it, without really letting yourself feel how heavy it is. And now that you're noticing it, now that you're letting yourself feel it, it's almost overwhelming. Because it's not just the weight itself, it's the weight of having carried it alone for so long. It's the accumulated tiredness of all those days when you pretended you were fine. All those moments when you smiled when you didn't feel like smiling. All those conversations where you said, "I'm good," when you weren't good. All those nights when you lay awake, feeling the weight of it, and then got up the next morning and carried on as if nothing was wrong. And maybe part of what you've been carrying is the fear that if you let yourself really feel it, if you let yourself acknowledge how heavy it is, it will break you. That you won't be able to keep going. That you'll fall apart and won't be able to put yourself back together. So you've kept it at arm's length. You've managed it. You've functioned around it. You've been strong. But strength, when it's held too tightly for too long, starts to feel like stone. And you weren't meant to be stone. You were meant to be human. Soft. Vulnerable. Allowed to hurt. And somewhere inside you, there's a part that's exhausted from being strong. A part that wants to stop holding everything together. A part that wants to be held instead of always being the one who holds. But you don't know how to let that happen. You don't know how to stop. You don't know if it's safe. So you keep carrying it. Silently. It's heavy, isn't it? Whatever it is you've been carrying, when you really let yourself feel the weight of it, it's heavy. And maybe you're feeling it right now. Maybe your chest feels tight, or your throat feels thick, or tears are close to the surface. Maybe your whole body feels tired in a way you haven't let yourself acknowledge until this moment. That's okay. You don't have to push it away. You don't have to make it smaller or more manageable. You don't have to be fine right now. You can just feel it. All of it. The heaviness, the sadness, the tiredness, the loneliness, whatever it is. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know it hurts. I know you'd rather not feel this way. But feelings don't go away because we ignore them. They just get quieter. They settle deeper. They wait. And maybe they've been waiting a long time. Waiting for you to have a moment where it's safe enough to feel them. Waiting for you to stop long enough to notice them. Waiting for permission to exist. So if they're here now, if you're feeling them now, maybe that's okay. Maybe that's even good. Not because it feels good, but because it's real. Because it's true. Because it's been there all along, and now you're finally acknowledging it. You've been carrying something that you didn't choose to carry. Something that life gave you, or circumstances created, or relationships left behind. And you've been managing it as best as you can. But managing isn't the same as healing. And functioning isn't the same as being okay. And maybe part of what makes this so hard is that no one sees it. No one knows. You're walking through the world carrying this weight, and people think you're fine. They think you're handling things. They think you're strong. And you are strong. but you're also tired, and you're also hurting. And both things can be true at the same time. You can be strong and still need help. You can be capable and still feel overwhelmed. You can be okay on the surface and still be struggling underneath. And maybe what you need most right now isn't advice or solutions or strategies for feeling better. Maybe what you need is just to stop pretending, just for a moment, just for these few minutes. You don't have to be strong right now. You don't have to have it together. You don't have to know how to fix this. You can just be here with whatever you're feeling and let it be exactly as hard as it is. Because it is hard. What you've been carrying, it's hard. And you've been carrying it alone, which makes it harder. And maybe you've told yourself it's not that bad. Maybe you've minimized it or compared it to other people's struggles and decided yours doesn't count. Maybe you've pushed it down because you didn't want to seem weak or needy or dramatic. But your pain doesn't need to be the worst pain in the world to matter. It doesn't need to be easily explainable or neatly categorized. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. It's yours, and it's real, and it matters because you matter. And right now, in this moment, you don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to fix it or solve it or make it better. You can just let it be. Let it exist. Let yourself feel it without judgment, without shame, without the pressure to make it go away. Sometimes we think that acknowledging pain will make it worse. That if we really let ourselves feel how much we're hurting, we'll drown in it. We'll be consumed by it. We won't be able to come back. But that's not usually what happens. What usually happens is that when we finally let ourselves feel what we've been holding, when we stop resisting it and just let it be, it starts to soften. Not immediately, not easily, but gradually. Because feelings, when they're acknowledged, when they're allowed to exist, when they're not constantly being pushed away, they move. They shift. They change. But when we keep them locked away, when we refuse to feel them, when we carry them silently without ever touching them, they stay. Frozen. Heavy. Unchanging. So maybe this moment, this uncomfortable, tender, difficult moment, is actually the beginning of something shifting. Not because you're doing anything to fix it, but because you're finally letting yourself feel it. And that takes courage. More courage than most people realize. It takes courage to stop, to pause, to let yourself be vulnerable, even if it's just with yourself. To admit that you're carrying something, that it's heavy, that you're tired. So if you're feeling that right now, if you're in touch with the weight you've been carrying, I want you to know you're brave. Not because you're handling it perfectly, but because you're feeling it honestly. And that matters more than you know. You know, there's something about faith that people don't talk about enough. It's not always about understanding. It's not always about knowing why things are the way they are, or having answers, or seeing the bigger picture. Sometimes faith is just about being held. And right now, in this moment, whatever you're carrying, you're being held. Not in a way you can see or measure or prove. Not in a way that makes the weight disappear or the pain go away, but in a way that's real nonetheless. There's a presence with you, in your tiredness, in your sadness, in your loneliness, in your fear. You're not alone in it, even when it feels like you are. And I know that might be hard to believe right now. I know that when you're in pain, when you're exhausted, when you've been carrying something silently for so long, it can feel like you're entirely alone. Like no one sees, like no one knows, like no one cares. But you're seen, even in the silence, even in the parts of yourself you keep hidden, even in the weight you carry where no one else can see it. You're seen, you're known, you're held. And the beautiful thing about that kind of holding, the kind that comes from something beyond yourself, is that it doesn't require anything from you. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to be strong enough or good enough or fixed enough. You don't have to have it all together. You can come as you are, tired, heavy, broken, confused, hurting, and you're still held. There's a gentleness in that, a kindness, a tenderness that doesn't ask you to be anything other than what you are. And maybe that's what you need most right now. Not to be fixed, not to be changed, not to be told how to feel better, just to be loved exactly as you are, with everything you're carrying, with all the weight, with all the mess, with all the parts of yourself you're not proud of. You're still loved. You're still held. You're still precious. And I know that might not take the pain away. I know it might not make the weight lighter, but maybe it makes it a little more bearable. Maybe it makes you feel a little less alone. Because you're not alone. You never have been. Even in the moments when you felt most isolated, most unseen, most forgotten, you weren't alone. And you're not alone now. Whatever you're carrying, you don't have to carry it by yourself anymore. You can share the weight, even if you don't know how. You can let yourself be supported, even if it feels strange or vulnerable or uncomfortable. Because you were never meant to carry everything alone. You were never meant to be strong enough for all of it. You were never meant to have it all figured out. You were meant to be human, which means you were meant to need help, to need rest, to need tenderness, to need holding. And that's not a weakness. That's just the truth. So whatever you've been carrying silently, you can let yourself be tired now. You can let yourself admit it's heavy. You can let yourself rest in the knowledge that you don't have to hold it all alone. There's a strength in you, yes, but there's also something holding that strength. Something underneath you that won't let you fall. Something around you that won't let you break. And you can trust that, even when you can't feel it. Even when it seems impossible, you can trust that you're held. Listen, I don't know what happens next for you. I don't know if the weight you're carrying will get lighter soon, or if it will stay heavy for a while longer. I don't know if things will change quickly or slowly, whether healing will come easily or if it will take time. But I know this, you're going to be okay. Not in a neat, simple, everything works out perfectly kind of way, but in a deeper way, in the way that matters most. You're going to be okay because you're here, because you showed up, because you let yourself feel something you've been carrying silently, and that takes courage. You're going to be okay because you're not alone, even when it feels like you are. You're going to be okay because there's something in you that's stronger than the weight you're carrying. Something that keeps you going even when you don't know how. Something that holds you together even when you feel like you're falling apart. And you don't have to figure everything out right now. You don't have to know what to do next. You don't have to have a plan. You can just be here, in this moment, with whatever you're feeling. And that's enough. You're enough. Exactly as you are. With everything you're carrying. With all your tiredness and your sadness and your confusion and your pain. You're enough. And maybe, when you're ready, you can start to let some of it go. Not all at once. Not perfectly. But slowly. Little by little. One moment at a time. But for now, for right now, you can just rest. You can just be. You can just breathe. And know that you're held. Thank you for being here. You're welcome to stay with us. Like, subscribe, and share the light. This is Dear Emma, sending you light and love.